Good afternoon, Jim.
Good afternoon, everyone. Looks like you've had a successful couple days.
Thank you.
Well, Jim, I think they're going to dump me
Yeah,
in your lap.
no
Are
problem.
you ready? Are you ready to carry me now?
I am, and vice versa.
Okay. No, we're just really pleased that you were able to join us. I know you guys have been busy as of late. It seems like you always are busy. I looked
Right.
at your schedule, and something is always going on. So why don't you bring us up to date where score is currently, and
Sure.
let's basically wrap up 2022 before we get off into 2023.
Absolutely. Now, 2022 is a return to norm for us. We had all four of our major races, but more importantly, they were all back at our pre-COVID locations. We started off San Felipe. We've been off-site there for 2 years. No crowds, no driver meetings, no press conferences until this year. So we were back down on the ocean at the Malecon with a fantastic crowd. I think it set a new record in the city for hotels and camping areas and Airbnbs. They were just gone. So that was a great way to start the year back in March, April. Baja 500, we were allowed to come back downtown to Ensenada. We were on a freeway system outside of town for a couple of years with no crowds for the same reasons. So that was another milestone back in to kind of get ourselves back to normal. Back downtown for the Baja 400 in September with increased number of entries throughout all three races. So that was a good sign as we headed into, of course, the Baja 1000, the granddaddy of off-road racing, which we just had a fantastic week down there right after SEMA as usual. We had about 280 entries, which for that race is really good because a lot of teams double up on what we call super teams. What could be 2 or 3 teams on a normal race, they all double or triple up to make sure they can get through the event. But it was a good sign. Contingency was totally maxed out, which hasn't been that way for years with booth space. The meetings, driver meetings, and the awards ceremonies were all. I haven't seen those record type of attendee levels since 2017. So we were good to be all back into that format. I think a telling sign is we make special decanter tequila bottles for the entries and VIPs, and we were sold out of 700 plus bottles by Friday morning of race week. So that was another interesting landmark.
You talk about these numbers. I mean, can you quantify them just a little bit so we can get some kind of, for those of us who have not witnessed what you've witnessed and understand what's going on? What kind of crowd are you talking about when you say the numbers have now back to pre-COVID and maybe exceeded that? And as far as what does that kind of mean?
Sure. On any given race, particularly down in Ensenada, just contingency days alone are 40, 50,000 people. In terms of U.S. versus the local Mexicans and people from around the world, actually, and that includes international press, along with the actual participating teams. But from a year-long standpoint, depending on how the courses run, because we run obviously not on a designated course, we can run through many big metropolitan areas if it's a peninsula run or loop. But Mexican Tourism Bureau says that we basically have about 650,000 people a year that actually see the race on site.
I think that definitely brings a spotlight in when people talk about the popularity of racing in Mexico and the NASCAR version of it, the off-road version of it. It's extremely strong down there. Those people really gravitate to speed. I mean, they love to see things fly through the air and make noise.
Yeah, no, we're definitely part of the culture. We're 55 years old in terms of the racing brands. Score itself turns 50. We'll celebrate the 50th anniversary of Score as a racing operations in 2023. But yeah, we're totally embedded in the culture, from the mayors to the governors to business owners, all the way through Mexico City and back.
Since you touched on mayors and governors, and this is not something that is I'm sure taken lightly. especially by yourself. How do you go about, putting all this together?
Yeah, it's a very unique
Of doing,
situation. It's a
yeah,
very
go
unique
ahead, explain
situation.
that to us.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a very unique situation on what we have to do. We have an office in Ensenada that basically is the
Mhm.
SCORE race director and president, along with our general manager, both Mexican nationals, and they and their crew do a magnificent job on a daily basis, working with everything from the federal government in Mexico City all the way through the state government in Baja, which includes the governor, the tourism bureaus, all the police departments, the landowners, obviously the mayors of all our towns. It's nonstop. But an interesting point on our relationship with the government is for the federal government, Mexico City, they recognize and are partners with only three motorsports entities, and that includes the F1 race in Mexico City, the NASCAR event, and SCORE International as the off-road end of it. That's been locked in since 2019.
That's incredible. And, with the longevity of your event, there's got to be a timetable and a consistency there that everybody knows kind of like what's going on, what to expect. And especially now, since we're getting out of the COVID deal, but getting back to a regular way of doing business has got to be kind of like a breath of fresh air.
For everybody, everybody from the fan base to the participants, to the restaurant owners, the hotel owners, tourism bureau. Yes, it's on both sides of the border and globally for that matter. But yes, it's I can't stress that enough, that it's great to have see the crowds back.
With the fact you've been around for such a long time and you've got people who have dominated your sport, and they're synonymous when it comes to running the Baja. What is the secret to winning any races there in Baja? I mean, from the shortest, which I see in 2023, you're going to have is that a 250 and a 400 and a 500 and 1,000? I mean, how many races will you run down there, let's say in 2023?
Yeah, our schedule is pretty locked into 4 major races.
Okay.
In terms of what SCORE puts on, and that basically takes up the entire year, between all the logistics and the planning and getting everything that needs to happen for those races to occur. Those are the four primary races.
So what are your biggest challenges when it comes to being and racing in that part of the country? Obviously we think about Baja, we think about, desert and sands and this, that, and the other, but I'm sure that sometime you run into situations where the weather does play havoc. Yeah,
like every year, something like that does occur. Hurricanes or whatever's hitting the peninsula, and depending on when our races occur, and that's just that part. It's also some time of year there's heat. On our summer and fall races, it can get quite hot in certain areas of the courses. So we have to adapt to all of that for sure. And safety, some of that involves major safety issues, especially for the moto classes that we have, in terms of their hydration levels. We now have water stops, hydration stops on the course certain times a year for those guys, for those type of reasons, for heat. But you mentioned an earlier comment on what's it take to race in Baja. How do you win? That is, I think we have the great equalizer. You could have a multi-million-dollar team down to a garage team, and no matter how hard you prep, it's Baja, and there is every one of our top teams, no matter if it's moto, UTVs, trophy trucks, buggies. You can prep all you want, but once the race happens, it's the terrain and what's going to get thrown at you during your adventure to trying to finish the race. And we saw that happen to a great extent at the Baja 1000 a couple of weeks ago. Just the attrition rate, unexpected little items to big items, occurring on the top teams all the way through.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I was looking at your running order, and I noticed that that there was a lot of DNS, and I was also going to ask you about the DNQs, did not qualify or something. some people, they miss it on your requirements and then are not allowed to race? How does that work in your organization?
Sure, and there's a lengthy rule book, obviously, but yeah, there's a number of items we have to look at. First of all, the driver or rider of record has to start or finish the race, and sometimes that can cause, if that does not occur for whatever reason, that's an issue. Penalty wise, we have virtual checkpoints, VCPs. That it's not the old days where the infamous shortcuts were taking place by all the legends and all the team strategies. We have a really good handle exactly where everybody is at any given minute, and that has mostly to do with safety, but it does keep everybody in order on the same track for the most part.
But as I have, I've been privy to at least know a handful of people that have run the Baja, from Robbie Gordon to Michael and Brendan Gaughan. You talk to Riley Herbst, about his experiences with his family, and it's surprising that you say what you did a moment ago. They all talk about, we've had the big one where we make a mistake, we wind up upside down in some ditch somewhere because we did something dumb. But he said more times than not, it's a $10, $30 part, not the $3,000 part. It's that little one. It's that one that all of a sudden slipped through the crack, or you hit it just right and you break it. And normally they are pretty much prepared to repair it, but there'll be that one time they can't get a part or don't have it with them, and it can just ruin their day.
Yeah, Jeff, I think that says it all right there. That's exactly what normally happens to even the largest and most prepared team. But I think the ability to finish is also extremely high nowadays. We have a special award called a Milestone Award that's been around SCORE for a long time, and that's been given out to every racer that basically completes every mile of every race during the season. And it used to be 7, 10, 14. We're up 40, 48 teams actually accomplishing that now, even though the attrition is what it is. The prep time and pre-running and just their ability to never quit, no matter if they're upside down or burning. It could be anything, but they get it done. The chase teams find them. They figure it out. Their navigators or right-hand seat guys are really good, changing tires in 90 seconds, 40-inch tires. It's insane what they're able to do now. It's all part of their planning. And the fact that we're on track to do probably another 40 plus teams earning that award this year is pretty incredible.
How much would you say the quality of your field has improved? And again, I'm not trying to put you on the spot here, but how long have you been associated with SCORE?
10 years at this position. I came out of the media world when there was a media world back in the magazine days. And I had a prior publication that was focused on off-road motorsports, which SCORE was one of our primary, obviously, areas of coverage. And in the major publishing days with Peterson and the other buyouts after that, we were always down working with SCORE. In fact, Sal Fish, who ran SCORE for 38 years, as an ex-Peterson magazine guy too.
Well, with that being said, you'll still be able to give me what I'm looking for. In your opinion, in your years around the sport, how much has the sport improved in quality of the field?
Well, whether it's drivers or technology is big. It's increased dramatically just in the last few years with the advent of the all-wheel drive trophy truck. Not just the class are still integrated into trophy trucks, but in the last couple years, their ability to finish races, first of all, and now basically sweeping those top positions for the most part for each race is added. From a technology standpoint, the durability part is there. If they're braking, it's not because of those systems right now. It's the other $3 parts that you were talking about earlier. So that's a big evolution. But same with the onboard telemetry for everything that's going on with the vehicles, the ability for all of that to be watched by the teams. They know exactly what's going on. The tracking systems and communications and medical advances that we have, so we know what's going on with all the teams at all times, has been dramatically increased in just the last 6, 7, 8 years. So we're along all those paths, safety being one of the foremost areas that never goes away, along with the technology. There used to be a 600 horsepower motor, then it became a 900 horsepower usable horsepower for off-road racing. Now we're up into the 1200 horsepower range with the all-wheel drives, because they can handle that. So it's that evolution will continue, and we'll see where it goes. We actually have an electric class we've had for quite a while, and sometimes it's around, and most of the time it's not. We've had a lot of technology-based companies come down and try to see what they have to do to beat Baja, or at least finish it. I think that's the first goal. So we have a lot going on. We have about 30 operational classes on the books, about 20 something running at every race.
I know I was watching some of the videos that are available on your face on your website, and I saw a couple of four-wheelers take some hard licks out there, and it's kind of like, I think if I was going to challenge Baja, it sure wouldn't be on one of them four-wheelers.
No, that's a big class.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. I mean, there's a lot of tough hombres that they want to they want to have they won't do it the hard way. Let's put it that way. I mean, they want to take that kind of challenge.
Jeff, you just said it. Amazing thing for this race of all races, Peninsula Run.
Mm-hmm.
Baja 1000. There's an Ironman class which is in the moto classes. So it's one rider, not 2 or 3 like most of the teams do for a Baja 1000. We had 28 entries on that, which was, I think, a record level for that particular class, and it's the Baja 1000. And they had a halfway decent finishing rate too. In fact, the guy leading with points got off during pre-running and broke and damaged one of his ribs, and he was trying to figure out. The doc told him to stay home. He ended up feeling okay, and he ended up riding. He ended up coming down and started the race, and he actually got third in that class. So there's a lot of that going on.
Yeah, well, make sure you give me that guy's name, because if I ever run across him in a dark alley, I'm gonna make sure I run from him.
Yeah, he's one of our back east guys.
Yeah. The other thing is, I know that you guys probably have statistics and everything. On an average, what do you have to maintain? Let's say to win one of your upper classes. What kind of speed range do you have to kind of maintain for 1,000 miles to be able to win?
Yeah, that's what every race is different in terms of the terrain,
Mm-hmm.
weather, and how many guys pre-ran it. Even the pre-running, when guys pre-run and see how the course is, what's going on by race day, it's totally different. So it's a whole another dynamic. But the average speed that was scheduled was around 55 miles an hour, 58 miles an hour, and they were getting slower speeds than that this year than what the teams are all planning for.
Now, the one thing also in watching some of the videos that came to my mind, explain how it works as far as how you get to go out. I mean, as far as, who goes out first. I mean, do the motorcycles and four-wheelers lead out, and then how do you do as far as trophy trucks and everybody, buggies? How does that work as far as staging? Because again, sure, if you got to run over terrain that's already been plowed by somebody else, it can be a little challenging.
Yeah, yes, and it is a science. We started staging the bikes, the moto classes much earlier than in the old days where they ran with the pack. Baja 1000, for instance, the moto classes went off at 2:30 a.m. and the truck classes went off at 10 a.m. So the moto includes obviously all the pros and the sportsmen and the Ironman, plus the quad classes, which have the same pro, sportsman, and Ironman designation. So they go off first. We have a whole different safety element with them. There's a helicopter that runs because they're always starting at night for weather, for heat purposes too. It helps. We've instituted a helicopter that sweeps the course in front of them, and a chase UTV that sweeps behind those guys. So in case anybody goes down, we know what's going on or they're in trouble. and to warn anybody if there's any booby traps or other instances of vehicles on the course or whatever at that time of the morning. So that's what goes down in the early morning hours at each race. The trucks start off, the four-wheel vehicles, I should say, start off around, like I said, anywhere from 9 to 10 o'clock in the morning with the opening ceremonies and all that happening. But it's all based upon speed. The trophy trucks start with the fastest and then group behind them. So we don't have teams run, entire classes that have to run through entire brackets of other cars. But that does change a lot. Once certain classes get fast, we have to adjust their starting positions. But that's a constant move. The UTVs are a perfect example of that. When they first started, they were placed accordingly, but they've become so fast. The pro levels and the factory wars are actually in our UTV class. They're not in the truck and bike classes anymore. But that's a new revelation. But they're getting so fast that we've had to move them up a number of classes to match their speed.
So you can be elevated into another class just because of your speed, not so much of your size or wheelbase or anything like that.
When I'm talking about elevating or moving, it's the entire class. It's not the driver. If you're racing a UTV and you're in the pro UTV class, but you ran through the class 7s and whatever's ahead of you, that on a consistent basis, then we end up moving that entire class ahead of the other class.
Okay, I follow you now. When you get where you are today, what is the next step? I mean, what's the next big vision for SCORE? What are they thinking that we need to go try next?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of bullet points underneath that. What do we try next? But obviously the evolution of safety is a priority. In terms of the communications, live streaming is our big play that we've been involved with for a couple of years now, but finally technology has caught up to us with the Starlink systems, which we started employing mid-year this year. And by the Baja 1000, we had enough units up and operating, along with a brand new control room back in the El Cajon race operations. That will continue to develop and flourish for 2023. But looking at other racing opportunities, whether they could be anywhere. I don't want to get into specifics there right now, but adding another race, maybe 2, would be really full year for us. So we have to see what we're talking about at that point. But those things are always in discussion and they're always evolving. So we'll see where that goes.
But with what you're saying as far as car count, it shows the strength of the series and those two that are committed to run the series. Correct.
Yeah, we have a pretty steady number at the races for 2022 after we got through the COVID years. So it's not like we have little races and then one big giant Baja 1000 race. They're all pretty consistent with the mileage. I mean, with the entry count, anywhere from 260 to 380, 400, depending on the race and the year. But that's our window of actual racers at a particular SCORE race.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, Jim. I'm going to get Francis talked into allow me to get a off-road truck, and he's going to ride a Navigator, and I'm going to do the driving, and we're coming to the Baja.
You got it.
We're doing the other way around.
We'll
What do you know about driving? You're from France. You guys drive on the wrong side of the wrong side.
No, that's the British. That's the British, not us. Thank you very much, Jim. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Registering on ePartrade is easy. To start, click on the Join for Free button on the homepage. First, search your company to see if it's already in our database. If you see your company on the list, click on it to select it. Then, choose Claim Company if you are one of the decision makers, an owner, marketing person, or main company contact. Or choose Join Company if you are an employee, and press Continue. If you couldn't find your company in our database, select Register a New Company. On the following page, fill out your name, email, phone number, job title, and choose a secure password. If you chose Register a New Company, you'll need to choose your business type. Select Supplier if you're looking to display products or services and connect with buyers. Choose Racing Business if you're looking to source new parts and connect with suppliers. Choose Race Team if you own or are a member of a professional race team. Then, enter your company name. Please provide a website, Facebook page, or LinkedIn if you have one, and choose to either claim or join the company. You can view and agree to our terms of use here. If you'd like to receive our weekly newsletter, choose Accept. Finally, click Register Now and your registration will be submitted for approval. An email will be sent to your inbox. Please confirm your email address and you will be approved shortly. Welcome to eParTrade.